Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Appreciate you spending some time with us as we start working towards the weekend. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. Luke Johnson in 15 minutes. Where are the Saints going with an offensive coordinator search? There's been a new head coaching announcement in the NFL as Dan Quinn is headed from Dallas to Washington. Saints still in the market for an offensive coordinator. We'll chat with Luke coming up about that. Some craziness in the Southeastern Conference in basketball over the last two nights. Got a baseball schedule and television announcements. We'll get to an announcement in Boston College. What does it mean for LSU and college football as a whole? Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, with us at 2:15. And on 3, went ahead and ranked the current college football coaches. Nick Saban, not on the list. Jim Harbaugh, not on the list. So what does that top 10 look like now? We'll get to that in hour number 2. I was not planning on leading my show with this today, quite frankly, because I didn't know that the news was going to break. But it did, and it is absolutely hysterical. So we'll get into it. Not really funny if you were involved. I wasn't, so I think it's really funny. If you're paying attention to Twitter, message boards, whatnot, you've gotten this information over the last 2 hours. If you've been at work or you're just getting out of a lunch meeting or you're just tuning in for the first time today and you haven't seen the news about Brad Bohanan, former Alabama baseball coach, well, here it is. The NCAA ruled on this case, and you'll recall the circumstances last year. Alabama was in Baton Rouge to play a 3-game series. Paul Skeens was scheduled to open that series on the mound for LSU. Luke Holman theoretically was going to start for Alabama. He's, of course, now at LSU, ironically. And Luke Holman was going to be scratched from that start. He was dealing with an injury. And Brad Bohanan allegedly spoke to a friend, spoke to a colleague, spoke to a contact, whoever, by the name of Bert Neff, who was in Cincinnati, and was placing bets with the information that Luke Holman had been scratched. We knew that. Bohanan got fired pretty quickly. The gaming overlords and the NCAA started to do an investigation, and we've now got the findings and the punishment of said investigation, and it's just jaw-dropping. Here are the circumstances as have been uncovered by this investigation by the NCAA. Brad Bohanan is in Baton Rouge getting ready to lead his team onto the field at the box within the next few hours. Bert Neff is in Cincinnati. Bohanan finds out at some point around lunch that Holman's not going to be able to go. So he's got an obligation, he feels, to tell LSU and to change the lineup. And that's going to happen later in the afternoon. But first, he texts his buddy Bert. What kind of name is Bert Neff anyway? It sounds like a dumb gambling character in a bad movie. It's a bad movie for Brad and Bert here. So he texts Bert and he says, Holman's definitely scratched. All caps, hammer LSU. I'll get to that in a second. But the coach of Alabama telling Bert to hammer LSU. So Bert goes to the window in Cincinnati, Ohio, not LeBare's down the street here, not on his mobile app when he's down here in Baton Rouge or in Tuscaloosa. He's in Cincinnati, Ohio. He places a $15,000 money line bet on LSU to beat Alabama. And at this point, the book takes it, and that's fine. And Bert thinks about it, and he goes, man, Brad says they're going to get crushed. I got to get more money down on this game. So he goes back to the window after placing a $15,000 money line bet on an obscure college baseball game and wants to get $100,000 more down on it. And the bookkeeper there in Cincinnati says, sir, I don't think so. And at that point, Bert loses it. And Bert looks at the window and says, no, this bet is for sure going to win. If only you guys knew what I know. Now look, I'm not exactly a gambling sharp. I don't spend all my weekends in Vegas. I've never been a bookie. But I have put a few dollars down on a blackjack table. I have played some sportsbook bets. How many times have you been at a blackjack table? Maybe yourself or someone at the table has put a $100 chip down, and the dealer has to go black in action. Like, they have to be aware that there's a sizable bet coming. You know what they really don't like you to say? I already know I'm going to win. You don't know what I know. That is so incomprehensibly unintelligent, I don't even know how to describe it. It's bordering on insanity, and I don't even understand how anyone could get to that point. It may be one thing to have the information. Don't tell the book you have the information. This is World's Dumbest Criminals to an unbelievable level. I cannot believe what I was reading. So this immediately sends red flags everywhere. Skeens goes out and pitches great. Bama goes with a bullpen game. LSU wins the game. Brad Bohanan eventually gets fired. Now, I've tried to do justice to the absurdity of Bert Neff going to the window and telling the book he knows he's going to win because he knows something they don't know, which is the dumbest thing you can do in a sports book. But how about Brad Bohanan here? This is a guy who's paid his dues in baseball, been an assistant coach, gets an opportunity at an SEC school, the conference that is dominating this sport to a degree that I don't even believe is healthy, but it is what it is. And he's telling his buddy to hammer LSU. That is pathetic. I realize Paul Skeens, one of the greatest pitching prospects we've ever seen come through the SEC, but it's not like he's a junior college team that's out there for a scrimmage. This team won a regional. And you have that little confidence that your guys are going to go out there and win? I realize that a lot of athletes have a irrational confidence about them. I talk to athletes that I've interviewed and worked with over the years about that. And you think you're the baddest dude and you think you're going to win. I asked Jeremy Hill, he played on some pretty bad teams in the NFL, and I asked him, like, when you were on one of those bad teams and y'all got to training camp, like, did you know you were bad or did you think you were going to win the Super Bowl? He's like, oh, we thought we were going to win the Super Bowl. And while I do think that's a little bit unreasonable, I like that more than I like the head coach of an SEC baseball team that hosted and won a regional going, oh, yeah, we're going to get crushed tonight. Huh? That sucks, man. Have a little confidence. Like, and then the other side of this is, think about these bets. I don't have the odds in front of me, and I don't know what they were for the game. Jimmy may be able to find that. It's college baseball. Nobody's betting on this. But I can't imagine LSU at home with Paul Skeens on the mound was offering great odds. I mean, just hypothetically, if it was minus 300, it's probably not. It's probably closer to minus $2 or something. But if it was theoretically minus 300, maybe that's way off. I don't claim to know that kind of thing. I understand how the betting world works, and that's why I pulled this number. Jimmy may know better. But, like, if it was minus 300, you're getting a third of your return on the bet. You place a $15,000 bet, it's worth $5,000. Trust me, if somebody walks in this studio right now and hands me $5,000, I'll be thrilled. But we're putting our livelihood on the line here for $5K. And even if you got the $100,000 bet down, $30,000, Brad Bohanan's base salary was $500,000 at Alabama, and I'm certain there were incentives in there. And if you keep that job, you're talking about a really, really nice income. Guess what, Brad? You won't be coaching anytime soon because the penalties came down today. It's a 15-year show cause. 15 years. And hypothetically, if he got hired, how about this line in the punishments? If he is hired to coach college baseball, he will immediately have to serve a 5-year suspension. Not 5 games, 5 years. Like, Will Wade got the McNeese job, and he had to sit the first few weeks. Okay. Brad has to sit 5 years. I don't think there are many people who are out there looking for a hitting or a pitching coach that has to sit 5 years before they can come work. His career in college baseball is over, over. Now, we chastise Kayshon Boutte for remarkably immature and poor decision-making. This is even worse. Kayshon was betting on himself to get 8 catches and a touchdown. Illegal, you're underage. Stupid, you're playing in the game. Very, very poor decision. This is bordering on point shaving. And at the very least, it's just a total lack of confidence in the program that you've helped build. What a just atrocious look for Brad Bohanan. Bert Neff is obviously a clown of a human being. Like, there's no other way to say it. We're telling the window that we have inside information on betting. I have no comment on Bert. The guy is a joke. Brad Bohanan is coaching a college baseball team, putting text messages out saying you're going to lose games and getting fired from an SEC job because you're trying to get your buddy some inside juice on a $15,000 money line bet that's going to return, what, 7? So poor. So poor. This story was almost unbelievable when I read it. We knew some of these details coming out earlier, but the comments at the window, the trail of text messages, it's just so pitiful. And I don't know what Alabama baseball is going to be moving forward, but they better be glad they moved on from this guy, because what an absolute failure in decision-making by Brad Bohanan. News came out today. I was laughing when I was reading the NCAA report. You guys don't know what I know. You got to get this bet down. I know I'm going to win. Come on, Bert. Luke Johnson's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. 5 brands on one lot. Shop BayouAutomotive.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona inviting you to check out LSU Daily, presented by Tecovas. It's a daily podcast covering all things LSU. If you want news, headlines, topics, and opinions on the LSU Tigers, we got you covered every single weekday on LSU Daily, presented by Tecovas. So find LSU Daily wherever you find great podcasts. Subscribe, rate us, leave a review, and let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you covered for about 30 minutes every single weekday on LSU Daily, presented by Tecovas.
1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Charles Hanniger joins us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. Bruce Marshall will be with us as we take a look at a big weekend in college basketball. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Rouse's Supermarkets, the official grocer of the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of those New Orleans Saints, Luke Johnson covers them for The Advocate, and he joins us every single Thursday talking black and gold. Luke, how are you, sir?
Doing great, man. I'm trying to get out of Mobile before I get sunburned. We'll see if that happens.
The old January into February sunburn. You hate to see that. Jeff Ireland was there. Did you pick anything up from him?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think I was interested in what he had to say about, the team's like prototypes and like kind of the history they have with drafting players. Like, I don't think the prototype is necessarily going to change, but I do think that they're going to look at adding some different types of players to their roster. I remember last year around draft time when Georgia edge rusher Nolan Smith was available and people were like clamoring for them to take him. And you just knew that they never were going to do that because they don't draft those types of players. They don't draft like the 225-pound guy who's coming off the edge and chasing down quarterbacks. But I think the Saints are going to kind of consider adding people like that to the roster and kind of creating a spot for them because they know they need to get a little bit more athletic on the edge. So maybe it's not going to be drafting them to be like their prototypical defensive end, but I do think they're going to kind of have to change with the way the league's changing a little bit.
I thought one of Jeff Ireland's comments about needing the ammunition, meaning the draft picks, to go do some things. Do you think there's going to be an effort to try to accumulate a couple more picks before this coming draft by moving someone off the roster?
It wouldn't surprise me. I was talking to somebody yesterday, just another reporter, about like, okay, yeah, it was kind of, I think you asked me like a similar question. It was like, okay, of Ryan Ramczyk and Marshawn Lattimore and Alvin Kamara, maybe a couple others, like how many of those guys are going to be back next year? You just don't know. Ramczyk, I don't think is like a trade candidate, but like, we don't know whether he's going to be healthy enough to return next year. And I think you look at Alvin and you look at Marshawn and two guys who are still good NFL players. Obviously both have some question marks. Alvin's coming off a down year, and Marshawn is coming off 2 straight years where he's hurt, but there's probably some trade value there. You have to deal with the financial aspect of it, which would be kind of a tough pill to swallow for the Saints. But you listen to what Ireland is saying, and it's true. They've got an aging roster, they've got an expensive roster, and the way you combat those two things is to get young, cheap players in your team and get a bunch of them. So the question is just like, what does that return look like for those players? Is a team going to be willing to give up a day 2 pick for Marshawn Lattimore, even though he's played 17 games the last 2 years and he has a $30 million cap hit in 2025? What's a team going to be willing to give up for a running back who's kind of fastly approaching his 30th birthday and he hasn't been that effective the last couple of years? I don't know if the return is worth the financial penalty you kind of have to eat, but you got to look into it.
Look into it. I think you probably need to look into another option outside of Michael Thomas after the tweets over the weekend. We've asked a couple people about it again, but I'll give your thoughts on, or what are your thoughts on Michael Thomas's social media presence and future with the franchise?
I think I'll avoid commenting on Mike's social media because I can't actually see it. I've been blocked for like 4 years, even though I don't think I've ever written anything like negative or overtly negative about the guy. So that's interesting. But I just think to me, it's pretty clear that the two sides are heading for a split. didn't have anybody like hear like explicitly say that, but that's the vibes that you pick up from everybody here, is that it's kind of run its course. And look, I mean, Mike was one of the NFL's premier playmakers for his first 4 years in the NFL. He averaged like 118 catches and 1,400 yards per year. But the last 4 years, he's totaled like 95 catches and like 1,100 yards. He's only played 20 games in the last 4 years. So, yeah, at some point the headache isn't worth it, because the production just hasn't been there. And clearly, him and Derek Carr were not on the same page. And if you base off of the social media, I don't know if Mike even wants to play with Derek Carr anymore. And Derek Carr is going to be the quarterback next year. So, I think it's just pretty clearly headed for a split, and we'll probably see him playing elsewhere next year.
You've got Chris Olave, you've got Rashid Shaheed. A.T. Perry had a nice last month there. Is that the top three going forward without Michael Thomas, or do they need to add there?
I think they'd have to add. A.T. for the really nice moments he had. We didn't really get to see him as a guy who's playing a lot of snaps. I don't know if you could really just go into it saying, yeah, we're going to count on that guy. And then just considering their body types and some of the injury history, I think you'd be kind of wary about just counting on Olave and Shaheed to be there for 17 games. Like, I think you'd have to add to the room. Whether that's as a draft pick. I mean, I think you've seen in the NFL the last couple of years, you can add a pretty good receiver with a early day 3 pick or a late day 2 pick. You can get these guys and you can find them in the draft. So I would expect them to definitely add to the room if the expected happens and Michael Thomas is not here anymore.
Lou Johnson, Saints beat writer for The Advocate, joining us here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Offensive coordinator search is not moving very quickly. It seems like they're interviewing a lot of folks, though. What is your read from the outside on how this process has gone?
I was talking to somebody last night, and it was just, I think the vibe is that they're wanting to, they're content to just take their time with this and to make sure they're getting the right guy, and that it really could happen anytime. For all I know, it could happen tomorrow. It could happen next week. I just hope to God it doesn't happen on Mardi Gras Day. I hope they don't do that to me. But, like two of the candidates, and I think two of the candidates that, if it were me, they'd be at the top of my list, are Brian Greasy and Quinn Kubiak, and those guys are coaching in the Super Bowl. So, I don't really know exactly how these job interviews work and the timing of these things work. I don't know if they are even allowed to accept a job before the end of the season. But it could drag on until after the Super Bowl, or we could hear something on Friday, tomorrow. I just think that it's kind of just the possibilities are fully open on that.
How desirable is this offensive coordinator job?
I think when you're looking at these availabilities, they're all open for a reason.
Right.
I think you look at some of the pieces here, and you could say you could talk yourself into it being a pretty good spot to land. And it doesn't really matter to me. I've been thinking about this. Maybe Dennis Allen is a quote unquote lame duck coach going into this year. You don't really know what his status is going to be after 2024. So maybe that's a little bit worrisome if you're an offensive coordinator candidate coming in, but also if you're an offensive coordinator and your team does really good, it doesn't really matter. Those guys, you see them get plucked off for head coach jobs after a year of experience as a play caller all the time if their offenses are really good. And we saw Bobby Slowick at head coach interviews this year, and prior to this year, he had no offensive coordinator play calling experience. So, I don't think that part really matters to me. I think it's really, to me, it's about the personnel. And I think you have some really exciting pass catching options on the team. You've got a quarterback who has proven he can do it. Whether you feel that he can do it at a high level in your offense is another thing. He was really up and down his debut season in New Orleans, but if you drop him into the right scheme, maybe it could be really good. I think the big concern for me is the offensive line. They've got talent on it, obviously, but those guys have really underperformed the last 2 years. So it's whether you can marry your scheme with what they've got here. I think that's the big question for me.
Anything else of note from your time in Mobile before we let you go?
A couple things, but I'm going to hold off on it because I'm posting something here shortly.
There you go. I understand. Just thought I'd ask. We appreciate you making some time for us.
Fair. It's fair. I will talk to you about it next week. But yeah, there's a little bit coming out in a little bit here.
Love to see it. Luke Johnson at @ByLukeJohnson on Twitter. You can find it over at The Advocate as well. Luke, thanks for the time. Safe travels back down I-10.
All right, man. Thanks.
He is Luke Johnson, always with us on Thursdays, and stay posted because he's going to have something coming up here pretty shortly with some nuggets from the Senior Bowl. I'm always curious as to how those, like the Combine and the Senior Bowl, work for team beat writers because, yeah, you want to talk to Jeff Ireland. He's obviously there, but then you've got a bunch of college players, and then it's kind of a networking opportunity as well. But what kind of news can come out as far as the team's beat goes when you're out at a collegiate all-star game? I don't know, but we'll see. Luke will have something for you here coming up. I've got some more thoughts on some of those questions that I asked Luke moving forward. We'll get to some of those just a little bit later. Some LSU baseball scheduling news coming up at the end of the hour. We'll have Chris Blair with us in hour number 2. Plenty to get to. Come back with us. We'll talk SEC basketball on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Love telling you about audio video security solutions. It's avssla.com. If you're building a home, have them come out and pre-wire your home for surround sound so that your entertainment system is top of the line when you move into that new house. They do all of that for you, and they also handle security systems. Nothing is more important than the security of you and your family, and AVSS is here to help you with that. They've got home surveillance. They provide the cameras and the technology and can get you the app. They've got 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week recording and playback. You can see simultaneous video feeds of different places in and around your house, and you can avoid all those cloud storage fees over at AVSS. Check out the website, avssla.com, avssla.com, or give my guy Mitchell Fisher a call. You can get the owner of the company's cell phone right here. It's Mitchell Fisher's number, 225-439-7920, 225-439-7920. That's also up at the website. Audio video security solutions at avssla.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We are creeping closer to baseball season. Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball joins us, and the latest from the Senior Bowl. Join us for Thursday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Going to talk a little SEC basketball here coming up, but some sad news that just came across my Twitter timeline and wanted to pass it along. Mike Martin, former Florida State baseball coach, the winningest baseball coach in the history of college baseball, has passed away, 79 years old. Mike Martin, of course, made the College World Series in his final year as a head coach at Florida State, beating LSU right there in Alec Box Stadium in the Super Regional. Mike Martin, 17 College World Series appearances for Florida State. 17 times went to Omaha. 2 times he was the runner-up, never climbed all the way to the top of the mountain. He piloted his team to 41 consecutive regional appearances. That is absolutely remarkable to achieve that 41 consecutive times. And to get to the College World Series 17 times is an unbelievable feat as well. And I know our perspective here in Baton Rouge is warped because Skip rattled off so many in a row that it looked easy. It looked like something you could expect to do. And then Paul took the reins and got one and got back to the final there. And then Jay Johnson wins in his second year. And to us, that's just a very, very achievable goal. It's something you should expect, and if not, and I promise it's not that easy. It is so hard to win up there. Ask Jim Schlossnagle how hard it is to win in Omaha. Ask, I'm blanking on Louisville's coach, it'll come to me in a second, but they were up there every single year for a run there and have not been able to get all the way to the end. And, of course, ask Mike Martin like how hard it is to go up there. Ask Dave Van Horn how easy it is to win a national championship. These guys that I'm telling you about put phenomenal teams on the field almost every single year and win to get to Omaha. It's just really hard to win the whole thing. Mike Martin deserved to have won one. His teams were excellent. I haven't heard anyone ever say a negative word about Mike Martin, and his legacy will last forever there in Tallahassee. His name's on the stadium, and he coached some good ones. J.D. Drew, Doug Minkiewicz, Stephen Drew, Buster Posey, some superstars that went through Florida State, and Mike Martin was there through all of it. He's actually, I read this on his Wikipedia during the break, he was the head basketball coach at Tallahassee Community College in 1970. That was his first foray into coaching. And he eventually circled back and got the head coach role at Florida State in 1980. And the rest was history. Just a phenomenal run for Mike Martin, an incredible life and legacy. It was well-lived, and may he rest in peace. Mike Martin passes away today at the age of 79. We got that from Florida State's baseball Twitter feed. So no easy transition away from that. But we will talk a little SEC basketball here, as it's just been a crazy couple of days in the Southeastern Conference. I've said a bunch of times, if you've listened, that I felt like that was top-heavy league. I put up the top Auburn and Tennessee and Kentucky. And beyond that, I thought there was a big group headed by Alabama who maybe could be in that conversation. And then you had the South Carolinas and Floridas, and you had the A&Ms and LSUs and Georgias, and I didn't really know what to make of that group. And then you get to the bottom, and I think Missouri and Vanderbilt are clearly there. They haven't won a game yet in the league. But this week, some of those middle-class teams punched up. And last night, you saw Florida. It took a 3 at the end of regulation, and John Calipari said that he thought there was too much time on the clock to foul, but Florida was down 3, got a 3 up at the end of regulation, made it, and then outlasted Kentucky in overtime. A couple of huge threes. Walter Clayton has been a great three-point shooter for Florida all year and made a couple of huge ones in regulation and in overtime. Reed Shepherd was good for Kentucky, but Florida wins, and they moved to 5-3 and knocked Kentucky back to 5-3, which is surprising to me. I mean, South Carolina handled them, and now they lose to Florida. Kentucky's got defensive problems. There's just no doubt about it. Gave up 84 more in regulation, 10 in overtime in a 5-minute period. Kentucky's good on offense. They can score. They just don't defend at the level they should. Georgia at home had Alabama by the throat in the first half in Athens. Get out to a 16-2 lead. They led by 14 at halftime. But Bama's offense is a freaking juggernaut. And they finally hit their rhythm, and they scored 58 points in the second half. 58! It's not the best defensive team you've ever seen from Nate Oates. It doesn't have the dude like they had last year. But they're really, really good at doing what they want on offense, and Georgia couldn't stand up to it, and Bama found a way to get it done. Now Bama sits there at 7-1, and I think very clearly is in the upper echelon of the league, the highest echelon of the league. It's a team that beat Auburn, came back and beat Georgia. Now Tennessee smacked them in Knoxville because Tennessee's really good, but Alabama's very, very, very good. And then you deal with the two have-nots in the SEC from last night. And I don't expect Vanderbilt to go to Auburn Arena and be competitive, and they weren't. They lose 81-54. 54 points. You lose by 27. Beck, we've talked about it. Well, it's the only talking point with Vanderbilt basketball. How do you feel about the fact that you think that Jerry Stackhouse will be coaching against LSU on March 2nd?
I still feel good about it.
You feel good about it?
I do.
They're 5-15.
They are.
They lost by 27 last night.
They did.
Just thinking the doors are going to be committed to Stack all the way through. See it through, Coach.
Yes, I think so.
All right. I disagree, but that's the beauty of the show. And we'll get our answer here within the next 30 days because we've got a leap year here. So we're at the beginning of February. Now March is very, very much in our sights. I think that he won't last the month. We'll see. And then Arkansas comes out and really hammers Missouri. That says, I think, more about Missouri than it does Arkansas, although Arkansas played well against Kentucky on Saturday at home, then played well against Missouri. So, unfortunately, maybe the Hogs are finding their stride as they come to Baton Rouge on Saturday. They are without Devo Davis, has moved on from the team at this point. Trevin Brazil did not play last night, so that's two guys that they expected to be huge pieces of this team that were unavailable last night. It did not matter. They scored 91 points, and as I said, they hammered Missouri. Missouri falls to 0-8 in league play. They are 8-13. 91-84 was the final on that one. We didn't talk any SC basketball yesterday, which we would have looked back at Tuesday's action. I want to briefly do that as we kind of break down this hour. But South Carolina going to Knoxville was really important. And Lamont Paris's team is legitimate. You're talking about a team that is 6-2 in league play, that has beaten Kentucky and Tennessee in the last week. They won at Arkansas, which generally speaking looks good. It doesn't look as good this time. But their only losses are a beatdown in Tuscaloosa, and then they played Georgia at home and lost a 5-point game. But South Carolina has a chance to rattle off some more wins here. They do go to Georgia, which could be difficult on Saturday, but they've got Ole Miss and Vanderbilt at home next week, which are very, very winnable. And all of a sudden, Lamont Paris's team is going to be ranked, and I think clearly establishing itself as among the top of the middle. I'm still, even though they beat them, not ready to put South Carolina right in Tennessee's tier. That may be a mistake on my part because South Carolina went to Knoxville, controlled the tempo of the game, and won. But I still believe in Tennessee a little bit more because of probably track record. We'll see. South Carolina may prove me dead wrong, but that's a heck of a win for them to be able to go to Knoxville and control the tempo and keep it in the low 60s. Awesome performance by South Carolina on Tuesday. And then the Egg Bowl was really fun. I got home from Pluckers Trivia, and I was watching that before I went to bed on Tuesday night. And Ole Miss outlast Mississippi State 86-82. The interesting part about that game is that Chris Jans and Chris Beard are obsessed with defense. Defense is the hallmark of their program. And these two offenses got cooking, and these two great defensive coaches didn't have an answer for it. And Ole Miss was able to win at 86-82, but it was close all the way. And Ole Miss moves to 5-3 in league play. Mississippi State falls to 3-5. You look at what Ole Miss has coming up. If they want to be an NCAA tournament team, it's a gauntlet the next three. They've got Auburn coming to the Pavilion on Saturday. They're at South Carolina next week, and then at Kentucky the next weekend. Those could all be losses if they don't play well in those games, and all of a sudden it changes the narrative in the conversation for Chris Beard in year one. But that's an impressive 3-game winning streak for Ole Miss after they kind of looked like a pretender, losing at LSU, getting crushed at Auburn. They beat Arkansas, won at Texas A&M, and they beat Mississippi State at home. So impressive stuff from Ole Miss. We'll talk more tomorrow about the Saturday slate in the Southeastern Conference coming up, and that'll, of course, feature LSU and Arkansas at 11 o'clock. We'll talk about the Hogs tomorrow as well. When we come back, LSU's baseball schedule has been released. All the television times are out. I've got some thoughts on that and just kind of the schedule as a whole. So we'll get to that coming up on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
ESPN Bet, now live in Louisiana, is the official sportsbook of ESPN. ESPN Bet is the only place to find daily exclusives and offers with your favorite ESPN personalities and shows. You can sign up today. Just download the ESPN Bet app on your smart device. And if you just place a bet, put a little money in there, place one bet on NCAA basketball or NBA tonight, you get $100 in bonus bets right there into your account. Find all your favorite markets and bets like in-game wagering. If you're watching a game, cross-sport parlays. You can take a college basketball line you like and an NBA line you like, marry them up for a parlay to score even bigger winnings. You can bet teasers as well. And all the props you can handle. We know those come in handy for the big game coming up next Sunday. That's ESPN Bet. Download today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBares Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Happy New Year from your friends at Front to Back Boat Service. And what better way to kick off your new year than by taking your boat to the next level? Get the boat of your dreams, and that's where Front to Back comes into play. You want that spot lock trolling motor that's going to keep you right there on the water where you need to be. How about some forward-facing sonar that actually shows you the fish before you even cast? Custom stereo jobs, all of it. Sherman family's been doing it for 38 years. Go to fronttobackboatservice.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Friday edition of Off the Bench as Jake and T-Bob are back in studio after their trip to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. Did the Saints hire an offensive coordinator? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Tune in 7 to 10 a.m. here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
As the gladiators of the gridiron battle it out for football's biggest prize, you'll be battling it out for one of radio's biggest prizes. It's the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Big Game Contest, where you could win $50,000 in cash if your name is drawn from the pot and you've correctly guessed the final score of the game. Get your score guesses in now at 1045ESPN.com.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, we got TV schedules and such for LSU baseball coming up. I know everybody's excited about Fighting Tiger Baseball Squad. We got a big announcement as well. Very, very fired up to announce that we'll be out at Alex Box Stadium for Off the Bench and the Hunt Palmer Show on opening day. If you're saying, hey, Hunt, your show's 1 to 3 and opening day starts at 2 o'clock, that is correct. We're going to move up a little bit, and we will be on the air noon to 2 leading up to first pitch at Alex Box Stadium. So really, really fired up to be out there for opening day a little bit early. Going to be awesome. It's 2 weeks from tomorrow. So make your plans. If you're unaware that the opening day is at 2 o'clock, which I know some people are unaware of that, make your plans. You got a couple of weeks to tell the boss we need to knock off a little early or take some PTO or whatever the case may be. LSU VMI is going to be Friday, February 16th at 2 o'clock, and we'll be out there broadcasting our show leading up to first pitch, and could not be more excited about that. But the news of today was the baseball television schedules have been released. LSU will be on cable 13 times in those 56 games. They'll be on the SEC Network 9 times. They'll be on ESPN2 twice, and they'll be on ESPNU twice as well. I know a lot of people like to look at the Thursday, Friday, Saturday weekends. How many of those does LSU play? In SEC play, there will be 3. 3 of the 10 weekends will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 2 of those will be at home. The first is Easter weekend. That's at Arkansas. LSU will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Easter weekend, which is, I believe, March 30th. So that'll be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday as usual. Then the following week after Easter, LSU will host Vanderbilt. That'll be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday as well. And then the season finale always is Thursday, Friday, Saturday, so that the teams can get their pitching lined up for Hoover. So LSU will host Ole Miss in Baton Rouge for that one, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So 3 of the 7 will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 2 of LSU's 5 home series will be Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I thought we'd just kind of add a little bit more. We've known this, but just a little bit of a discussion point, what LSU's baseball schedule looks like this year, especially from an SEC perspective. You obviously still play all the teams in the quote-unquote SEC West, so LSU will play all of them. In the East, you do play Florida, who's going to be really good, the national runner-up, who's got Cade Fisher back, and they got Jack Caglione back, and they're going to be really good on the mound. They got a lot to replace offensively like LSU. They'll be good. LSU plays Florida. LSU does play Tennessee. That'll be in Knoxville. LSU plays Vanderbilt. That'll be at home in Baton Rouge. And LSU does go to Missouri. So those are the 4 East teams that you play. Florida, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Missouri. You probably catch the top 3 there, if we're being honest. In Florida, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. You miss South Carolina, who had a nice year last year before they got hurt. And Ethan Petrie's back, who's one of the best power hitters in college baseball. So is Gavin Casas. And you do miss Kentucky, who LSU played in the Super last year. And you miss Georgia, which to me is probably, outside of Missouri, the bottom of the league. Georgia's in a coaching change. You're very well aware of that. Wes Johnson has taken over as the head man in Athens. Kentucky, I just don't trust that baseball program. I think they were a little bit of smoke and mirrors last year. They played LSU tough in the regular season for offensively, but got to the Super and LSU just hammered them. And then South Carolina, we'll see if they can build upon a nice year last year and be good. But LSU will not play them. They'll get Florida, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and Missouri. You've got some wraparound weekends for LSU in the non-conference. It starts the first weekend. LSU will play VMI on Friday and Sunday. They'll play Central Arkansas on Saturday and Monday. So that's a wraparound. Then you turn around the next weekend, and you've got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So that's 8 games in the first 7 days of the 8 games in the first 10 days. That's what I was looking for there. 8 games in the first 10 days, first weekend. LSU will go to Rice to play a Wednesday game in the midweek before playing in the Astros Foundation Classic. That'll be Texas on Friday, Louisiana Lafayette on Saturday, and Texas State on Sunday. If you're planning on making that trip to Houston to watch LSU in Minute Maid Park, the Texas game on Friday will be at 7 o'clock p.m. UL Lafayette will be at 7 o'clock on Saturday, and the Texas State game will be at 3 o'clock on Sunday. So you can get home after the Texas State game. I thought LSU's time slots 2 years ago were terrible in that. You got the afternoon game on Friday, and then the night game on Saturday, and the night game on Sunday. Not the best time slots to be playing, but whatever is the case may be. That's your look at the Astros Classic. And then you got Xavier coming in for a more traditional midweek.
Don't forget that you skipped it, Hunt. They're traveling to Hammond, America.
They will be in Hammond, America in the midweek for the Southeastern Lions. That's a Wednesday game. I always want to call that Strawberry Field. Is that the football stadium?
That's the football stadium.
Okay, I just thought that was Strawberry. Just a lovely name. Is that because somebody named Strawberry, or just because Hammond has Ponchatoula has a bunch of strawberries?
I'm not sure, but maybe it's because of the strawberries they have.
Get in the Bayou Ford chat if you know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Did we name the stadium after somebody, or do we just have some good strawberries over there on I-12, so we figured that's what we'd call the field? I'm hoping for the second one. That'd be awesome. Be like the Cotton Bowl, but you've got Strawberry Field. I like that. And then Xavier is your last non-conference weekend before 2 midweek games in North Dakota State, and you crank things up in Starkville with Mississippi State at Dudy Noble Field. So highlights from the schedule released today. LSU's on cable 13 times, 9 SEC Network, 2 ESPN2, and 2 ESPNUs. Your Thursday, Friday, Saturday weekends, Arkansas, Vanderbilt, and Ole Miss. I'm fired up for a little college baseball. I'm going to go out and watch a little bit of the scrimmage later this afternoon, and we will talk some baseball tomorrow on the show. We don't have much, no football to talk about with the NFL being done. And if the Saints don't hire an offensive coordinator, there's not a lot of football on the vine. So I will pivot, and we will talk some baseball on tomorrow's show. Very much looking forward to that. Our Thursday shows are brought to you by Rouse's, the official grocer and supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Got a brand new location there on Florida Boulevard that we were at a couple of weeks ago that is fantastic. We're, of course, partial to our location over there, Burbank and Lee, which I'm moving a little bit closer to here at the end of the month. So that'll be my my main shopping location. I still go there from time to time, but it'll be my main shopping location moving forward. And we love our partnership with the folks over at Rouse's. Download the Rouse's app. Makes your grocery shopping so easy. If you don't have time to run in the store, just do your shopping on the app. Have your personal shopper go pick up your stuff. Set the pickup time. They'll walk it out to you. Spend $35. You don't spend a cent extra on the curbside pickup aspect of things. They just want to make things convenient for you, and they certainly do it over there at Rouse's. They bring you all of our Thursday shows. Open the show today talking about Brad Bohanan and Bert Nuff and their punishments for the ridiculous gambling scandal last year that shocked the SEC baseball landscape and had Brian Bohanan out of a job. Luke Johnson was with us talking a little bit of Saints. You can find that on YouTube at Hunt on Saints. That's where all of our Saints content can be found. SEC basketball update at 1:30, and we talked a little bit about the baseball schedule. Missed any of that, you can catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab. All our shows are archived there, Off the Bench, Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer Show, AFR, all there at the website. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound. You can find the Hunt Palmer Show. We'd appreciate it if you like, subscribe, rate, and review. Hour number 2 is coming at you. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, will be with us at 2:15, talking a little bit of hoops. On 3, ranked its top 10 head coaches in college football. Where does Brian Kelly show up on that list? If he does, we'll let you know. When we come back, news out of Boston College last week that their head coach, or yesterday, that Jeff Hafley, their head coach, is leaving to be the defensive coordinator for the Packers. Is that going to be the start of a trend? I'll let you know kind of my thoughts on it. Come back after Sports Center. It's a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 23 Ram 1500 Black Widow trucks, $20,000 off new Ram 1500 trucks, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 30th, 2024.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property, so retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. After 3 years as Cowboys defensive coordinator, Dan Quinn's been hired as the head coach of the Commanders, a team coming off a 4-13 season, hasn't won a playoff game in 18 years. Job one for Quinn involves the most important position in the sport, explains ESPN NFL analyst Mina Kimes.
The most important job he has, the most important thing when it pertains to the Commanders this season is nailing that quarterback pick at number 2 and then building an offense around that quarterback, nurturing him, facilitating.
Commanders 9 picks this year, $70 million in salary cap space. Dallas plans to interview former Washington coach Ron Rivera for its D.C. job. NBA, Lakers ruled out LeBron James and Anthony Davis tonight against the Celtics, 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Both have nagging injuries. 76ers center Joel Embiid, left knee injury, out in Utah tonight. 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, who has the most F1 wins in history, leaving Mercedes to join Ferrari in 2025. Free agent Skylar Diggins Smith, signing with the Seattle Storm, missed all of last season on maternity leave.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Friday, I'll tell you the quarterback that no one is talking about that's going into next year on the hot seat. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouse's. Working towards the weekend. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, in 15 minutes. I want to start with some news out of the college football and the NFL that probably wouldn't make a lot of waves down here if it didn't feel like it may be the beginning of a trend. Jeff Hafley is leaving Boston College as the head coach of the BC Eagles to be the Packers' defensive coordinator. Now, as of 24 hours ago, I never heard of Jeff Hafley. He had not done a super job at BC. He's 3 years into a 4-year deal. And I don't know anything about his defensive acumen and how well he's going to slow down the Bears, the Vikings, and the Lions next year. I have no idea. That's not what's relevant in this story. What's relevant is this is usually something that goes the other way. A coordinator going to be head coach, even if you're transcending levels. And so for a head coach who's making about $4 million a year at Boston College to leave that job voluntarily to go be the Packers defensive coordinator, and I don't have his contract terms in front of me, but I'm reading that the average coordinator salary in the NFL is between $1 million and $1.5 million. He's taken a sizable haircut, quite likely, to leave being a head coach at Boston College to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL. And this is, I think, going to become more common. This is not about whether or not I like name, image, and likeness. It's not about whether or not I like the transfer portal. They exist, and the fact of the matter is, not about whether you like it or don't. The fact of the matter is, it makes a college football coach's job very, very, very difficult. And they're paid handsomely for that. And because of how well they're paid, you're always going to be able to find the next guy to take the job. This is not going to kill college football that Boston College's coach is leaving and taking the job with the Packers. It's not. They'll find a new coach that'll take $4 million a year. I promise. It just is a fact that it makes things very difficult. I feel for them more than I feel for the college basketball coach who, yes, theoretically could lose his entire roster. But truth be told, you really only have to go find 9 or 10 other guys. You go find some high schoolers that you've recruited. The transfer portal is full of basketball players. And then you just go reload your roster every year. That's not ideal. It's more difficult than if guys were kind of more entrenched in your program. But it's 10 or 11 guys. College football coaches may have to go find 45 players. The time that takes is astronomical. And so, again, it's not about whether or not you like it or hate it. I've heard many people on both sides. And I've heard different arguments for why people hate it or like it. Matt is on the team of pro student athlete. If you want to leave every year, you can do that. Coaches can leave every year to go to different opportunities. Players can leave every year to make different opportunities, and Matt loves that. T-Bob was talking this morning on his show, saying, I like the fact that there's a little bit more parity in college football because the talent is spreading out. You don't have a bunch of 4- and 5-star guys that committed and signed with Georgia and Alabama that are now on the bench, that are now stuck there because if they transfer, they have to sit out. Instead, they're still talented guys. They couldn't get on the field at Bama, but they can go to Washington and play. They can go to Mississippi State and play, and you spread the talent out a little bit. That's his look at it. I'm not talking about those perspectives. I'm just saying quite flatly that it's just really, really hard to do. I think I've seen a lot of people tweeting and commenting that this is what ran Nick Saban out of college football. Maybe it is. I don't know. But I'm not confident enough to tell you that it is. It could be just a coincidence that he's older and has had enough. Doesn't have the energy to get up and do it. My overarching thought on this, and I wouldn't write it in stone. I kind of change as I get more information. It's case to case, but as I give some thought to what I think about the NIL situation and the transfer portal and free transfer situation, my thought is this, and this very much includes myself at 18, 19, 20, 21. 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds are impulsive, oftentimes unreasonable, a lot of times immature. That all applies to me when I was 18, 19, 20, 21. And for a coach that's paid to win games, dealing with that level of volatility because of their age and their decision-making process and the freedom that they're given and the entitlement that some of them have, it's just not a job I would want. It's just not. Now, if you win, you can pretty much cure all that. Alabama has not dealt with a massive amount of attrition over there. Georgia has not dealt with a massive amount of attrition. Nor has Florida State, nor has Michigan, nor has Ohio State. If you're winning, people are generally happy. But if you slip a little bit and you don't have the most fun place in the world to be because you're buckling things down and being a little bit more demanding, like it's just easy for a 19, 21-year-old to be like, go somewhere else. Things are a little bit better than this. And then it becomes, well, how do you build? How do you, if you've got if you don't have a great thing going, how do you get there if people just keep leaving? I don't have a perfect answer for you. And I don't feel really strongly one way or another. I am not in the camp of, transfer all you want and everybody get a lot of money. This is great. I am not in the camp of, you got to lock these kids down and they should never get a cent. I'm not in either one of those camps. I'm just not. Most people are. I'm not. What I am willing to do is say more people are going to be like Jeff Hafley and say, I cannot deal with these 19-year-olds who are demanding more money, who are transferring freely. I'm losing half my roster every year. I just don't have the energy and the will to go restock those shelves every single year and deal with kids who are demanding money every single year. I just don't. That's a reasonable point of view and one that will be prevalent, I think. But once again, to back that up, you will always be able to find the next guy because there are nearly an infinite amount of football coaches willing to take $4 million to be the head coach at Boston College. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to get a 3-year deal worth a total of $12 million, and the buyout's going to be 80% of what's left in the contract. So even if they get fired, they're going to get a check for $6 million. And there's always going to be the next guy willing to do that. So it will not destroy the sport, in my opinion. There are so many people out there saying NIL is going to destroy the sport. Transfer portal is going to destroy the sport. I don't believe that. Ratings are up. People are interested. Places like On3 are monetizing people's interest in the transfer portal. Because for as mad as you get when your quarterback leaves or one of your great players leaves, you get just as happy when you pull in a big-time transfer. And that's just, we care. I just don't think there are going to be a lot of people that turn it off because the defensive back has got an NIL deal worth $1.8 million. It's Saturday night in Death Valley. It's a tailgate season in the Grove. Bryant Denny's got the light show going. The 12th man at Kyle Field swaying. Oklahoma's in the big SEC. I just don't think any of these fan bases are checking out. But the coaches will, because that job is really, really hard. Jeff Hafley leaving Boston College. He'll be the Packers defensive coordinator. Won't be the last. Step right on out of that pressure cooker. All right, when we come back, Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you just got a crummy closet situation, you don't have enough space, there's shoes everywhere, you're trying to stuff a suitcase in there, got hanging clothes, trying to knock things on the floor, just get a custom closet. David Duvall and his team can come and make your life a lot simpler. They can use lighting and cubbies and drawers and racks, and they can use tie racks and all sorts of different things to use your space more efficiently. And on top of all that, they're going to make it look beautiful. Go check out the pictures. OneBathAndClosets.com has got great pictures of their fine work. There are testimonials as well. And I can promise you this with One Bath and Closets. They're not going to come in, do the job quickly, move on to the next one, take your money, and then 3 weeks later they got to come back because some shortcut was taken. Nope, they're going to do it right the first time and leave that competition behind. Check out the website, OneBathAndClosets.com, OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Join MMR and ignite your career today. MMR is the largest electrical and instrumentation contractor in the nation, and they're seeking talented individuals to join their team. For over 3 decades, they've been headquartered right here in Baton Rouge, and they have offices all around the globe.
And MMR offers a tailored path for both professional and personal development, outstanding benefits, and a dynamic culture. So whether you're an intern, a seasoned pro, or you're just starting out, see what MMR can offer you. Apply at mmrgrp.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our focus. Charles Hannigriff joins us for the Friday edition of Live at Lunch from Rufino's on Highland Road. Bruce Marshall will be with us as we take a look at a big weekend in college basketball. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Friday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us. That time of the week where we head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline and chat with our guy Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers. Chris, how are you, sir?
Great. I think I enjoyed this midweek bye as much or more than the team did after last week's tough games, tough trips, and even tougher travel delays. So it's been nice to be in Baton Rouge this week so far.
Is there a bye? I have not looked into this. I don't recall this ever being the case, and there's an even number of teams. What's the deal? What am I missing?
They just really, from all indications I got when I asked about it, was everybody gets at least once, which is interesting because last week it was Tennessee and Vanderbilt had the bye weeks, and then they played last weekend. This week, LSU got the bye week. Arkansas did not. They played, of course, last night on the road to Missouri, and then we'll turn around and come to Baton Rouge. But the all I get is again, you get 3 weeks of the conference behind you for LSU, and they build in a little bye week there. Every team gets one just to maybe re-energize and refocus and of course, concentrate on the studies.
What did Coach McMahon have to say back on Monday's show about that tough week?
I think he felt like they played well enough to win on the road at Georgia. He talked about the value of every possession. They forced a ton of turnovers, but they gave up a bunch of turnovers. And you find yourself in a close game and you're on the road. I mean, that's a recipe more times than not that will not go in your favor. But he really felt like the team learned a lot from it. He liked the fight, the way they were able to put the Georgia game behind them in the first 20 minutes on the road against a super talented Alabama team who, again, last night got down big to Georgia in Athens, and then they do what they do. They don't change, whether they're up 30 or down 30. If there's 20 minutes to go or 4 minutes to go, they keep shooting. And when they start knocking down shots, they're a tough team to contend with. And, kind of what happened to LSU, although they weren't leading in the first half, they were able to match Alabama. They're a team that's going to make a ton of runs at you, especially inside their own building. And I thought LSU did a good job, especially the bench players, in kind of, sustaining and being able to handle those runs. Unable to do so in the second half. And again, I think that Coach McMahon said, they played much better at Georgia and made too many costly mistakes, mental mistakes, got sped up a little bit, didn't run, solid offense. I mean, the only way to kind of slow down an Alabama team, the way they play, is to, again, get good offense. Quick shots and long shots lead to long rebounds, and it allows Alabama to get into transition. And, again, even though they knocked down a bunch of threes, the transition points in the game last Saturday was the difference in that one. I think the other concern, Hunt, that he mentioned really over the last 4 games where the Tigers have struggled has been the ability or inability to get to the line as much or more than your opponent. And on top of that, not shooting as good as this team can shoot from the line. So they've given up a ton of free throws, which tells you they're not able to defend without fouling. And, the last couple of teams they played, that's what they do. If you put them on the line more times than not, they're going to have the advantage in winning that game.
You mentioned last week you thought the guys had a pretty good way about them, even though they had hit a couple bumps in the road. Still feel the same 7 days later?
It's going to be interesting because I plan to go catch practice here in just a little bit, actually, when we get done, just to kind of get that look. Not that there was anything different. I mean, goodness knows when you're not getting on a plane till after midnight and it's an hour-plus flight and then you land, and it's hard to gauge that when you're getting home at 2:30 in the morning because everybody's a little groggy. So I was interested to see how they were this week because I think, that's what you have to ask yourself is how much is that starting to wear on this team? And unfortunately, it's just something they cannot afford. They've got an Arkansas team that has come in struggling. They got a win last night on the road at Missouri, but I mean, now they're 2-6 in the league. Their back's against the wall. They haven't played well for whatever reason. And, they're coming in here and they're a dangerous team. They tasted victory last night. Now I'm sure they want to come here and do nothing but beat LSU. That's kind of the way Arkansas, they get up every day wanting to beat LSU. And then after that, if LSU can't hold home court, the road gets awfully tough with Tennessee waiting in the wings, Kentucky down the road, this incredible South Carolina team that's off to an incredible start. So I don't want to say it's a must win, but this is one I think, Hunt, they got to come in early in this game and give Arkansas no hope whatsoever. They got to put their foot on the throat and keep it there. You can't allow them to get some easy turnovers, get some transition buckets, start flying around the court, knocking down open threes. You got to let them know you guys are struggling, and we're going to continue to make you struggle on the road.
3 straight years, Arkansas has been really, really good, made deep tournament runs into the second weekend, and this team just can't seem to have figured it out. Hopefully they didn't last night in Columbia, Missouri, and that was just Missouri being a bad basketball team. How surprised are you that the Hogs have struggled this much?
Yeah, it's been surprising. I mean, again, when you take a team individually and start breaking down the pieces that they have, or at least started the season with, and let's not forget, they beat a pretty good Duke team. They had some really good non-conference wins. And then it seems like, once the new year, the calendar flipped and they started conference play, there was a lot of real individual talents, and you'd see a guy in a given game score 25, 30, 35 points, but there wasn't a whole lot of help around them. And it was almost like, all right, which star is going to take over in this game? But they're not really playing with 3 or 4 dominant scorers. In fact, right now in SEC play, they only got 1 player in double-figure scoring, which that's a rarity when you look at the teams LSU has faced since week number 1 of the conference. I mean, most of the teams LSU has played has got 3 or 4, and in some cases 5 or 6 in double figures. And when you look at the roster of Arkansas, You see the talent, some that Musselman recruited to Fayetteville and some that he got in the transfer portal. It's kind of hard to figure out why they're not being more prolific offensively, because goodness knows the style hasn't changed. They just are not really playing as a team. So it's, again, they know better than I as to where the disconnect is. But I'm like you. I hope they don't figure it all out Saturday at 11 o'clock.
What do you make of LSU's front court right now with Will Baker and Hunter Dean and Derek Fountain logging most of the minutes?
Yeah, I mean, I like that combination. I was proud of Derek on Saturday. Again, the silver lining in it all is he, tied a season high of 14. It was his highest output against an SEC team. And, we've kind of seen moments of that in his year plus at LSU. And again, he gives you great effort and does a lot of things that you won't notice in the stat line. But, when you can get 10, 12 points and 6, 8 rebounds from him, he's a difference maker. I think the inconsistency would be my biggest point at this moment for the front court of LSU. Just simply that Will's had some pretty good games, and then there's some games where not only did he not put up big numbers, but he also didn't play a lot of minutes, and they've decided to go with Hunter Dean, who again I think has a ceiling from an offensive standpoint, but again he's in there boxing out, clearing space in the lane, playing pretty good defense without fouling. And he's smart. He's very aware of what's going on the floor. So, it's almost it's either you get a great game for Will and then there's a drop off offensively when you bring Hunter in, or you don't get much from Will and Hunter comes in. It's if you knew kind of what to expect on a daily basis, along with both Fountain and Jalen Reed, who again have the potential to really play well, and they always give you great effort. It's just a matter of getting consistent lines on rebounds and on points and on, the lack of turnovers. To me, that's just the missing. I think they've got 4 really good pieces down there that can complement each other very well. I just don't think they've been able to be consistent on a game-by-game basis.
Do any baseball prep these days, or are we full speed ahead on basketball?
No, we are checking out baseball. We're paying attention to what's going on over there. I mean, goodness knows it is right around the corner. I'm excited about it just simply because I've talked to Jay enough to know he's excited. And I love his kind of belief that, guys, we've already celebrated the 2023 title, and that's great, and we'll talk about it years down the road and what a great team and some of those great players, but that's got no bearing on what we're doing right now. And that's kind of the mantra every day around the program is, that's great, and there'll be posters on the wall, and we've got memorabilia, but this is about this team. And I liked his saying earlier this week, we're not going to be the hunted. We're not going to take that approach. That means you're on defense. He wants this team to be on offense and be aggressive. And if they can follow suit, I think that we're going to have a fun year.
I kind of didn't think Hayden Travinski nor Alex Milazzo would come back, kind of go out on top and maybe try your professional hand or see what's next in life. But both guys decided to come back. And to a man, when the other players are interviewed about what goes on with LSU, those two guys are always mentioned as kind of running the show. You've been around the team, and certainly those two guys the last 4 years. I mean, what do you make of their leadership capabilities and what they mean to this team as they enter a new season?
Yeah, they are kind of the alphas. And, it's great because being around them and traveling with them, when it's time to get in the huddle, and you've seen it during games when Jay huddles the team up, you're going to hear Jay's voice, but right behind it, you're going to hear Hayden's and Alex's. And that even goes back to when Milazzo was injured and wasn't playing. I mean, he was a real cheerleader for his team. And I think they both could have taken a shot and see where they landed in professional baseball. But I also think they had such a great time last year, and they've never really had a season where they weren't hampered by injury. And that's, again, knock on wood. Hopefully that isn't the case this year. But I think they both feel much better, and I think that they know they can contribute not only to the team, but I think even though staying the extra year, they could benefit personally from having monster seasons. And, boy, watching some of them in the preseason practice, and, again, what Hayden's going to do. But defensively, what you can count on Alex doing, some of the wizardry he does behind the plate, and not to mention the improvement he did with the bat last year. I think if you get back-to-back seasons for him, being as consistent on both offense and defense, I think there's going to be a lot of front offices that are not going to let him just slip through.
He's the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair. We'll see you in the PMAC on Saturday, all right?
All right, be there early.
I will. That's Chris Blair. You can hear him and John Brady on the call, 11 o'clock for the tip-off, 10:30 pregame over on Eagle 98.1 here in Baton Rouge, or the LSU Sports Radio Network affiliate in your area. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Markets. We'll come back on 3 Sports, had a list. Top 10 coaches in college football. Jim Harbaugh? Nope. Nick Saban? Nope. Where's Brian Kelly if he's on the list? We'll tell you next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There's never been a better time to catch a John Deere deal from the crew of Sunshine. Ask us about our low monthly payment options on our tractor packages and let the good times roll. With equipment strong enough to power one of the world's largest celebrations, we've got your needs covered too. Learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Offer ends April 30th, 2024.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Same-day pickup and next-day delivery on most orders. But most importantly, we have an unwavering commitment to help keep you up and running. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Progressive asks, what do a late-night pizza craving,
Pizza place. Can I get 1 large pepperoni pizza?
a newly licensed teen delivery driver, a guaranteed delivery time or its free offer, and your front fence have in common?
Uh-oh.
That's my fence! They can turn your stomach upside down in under 30 minutes.
I'm still getting a tip, right?
Bundle your home and auto with Progressive for great savings and round-the-clock protection.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR. We are creeping closer to baseball season. Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball joins us, and the latest from the Senior Bowl. Join us for Thursday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
So an interesting story put up. Part of the On3 network, Jesse Simonton does work over there for the gang at On3, and he put a list up. Top 10 head coaches entering 2024 in college football. For years, we have looked at these lists, and you've seen Nick Saban's name at the top or at number 2. At a time, maybe Dabo Swinney had overtaken him on these lists after a couple national championships. Maybe Urban Meyer's name pops up. Kirby Smart in recent years would make some sense. But Nick Saban was always right up there at the top. And if this list was ranking them right after the 2024 season, no doubt Jim Harbaugh would have been right up near the top, maybe at the top of the list. But they've moved on. Nick Saban has retired. Jim Harbaugh is now the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. So there's a little bit of a changing of the guard as far as college football coaches go. And Jesse Simonton puts Kirby Smart at number 1. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. He says that Smart's the undisputed top-ranked coach in America right now. He's won at least 11 games in 6 of the last 7 years, has a pair of national titles, and just inked the number 1 recruiting class. Georgia has sent more talent to the NFL than any program in the country the last few years, and the Bulldogs are the early favorites to be the national champions in 2024. I don't think anybody, as he said, it's undisputed. I won't dispute it, certainly. Number 2 on the list, Brian Kelly, LSU. Simonton writes, Kelly's done everything but win a national championship at the FBS level. He's won at least 10 games 7 straight years, which is pretty amazing. Produced a Heisman Trophy winner in quarterback Jaden Daniels in year 2 at LSU. This offseason, he overhauled the Tigers' defensive coaching staff, poaching Blake Baker and Kevin Peoples from Missouri and Bo Davis from Texas. LSU currently has the number 1 ranked 2025 recruiting class. And then he links to a story with Saban gone. Kelly's chances of winning a national title in Baton Rouge just went up. You could try to shuffle the deck chairs and get someone ahead of Brian Kelly. I could listen to an argument for Ryan Day, Steve Sarkisian had a good year this past year. Dabo Swinney has 2 national championships. Mike Norvell has beaten Brian Kelly each of the last 2 seasons. Kyle Whittingham's had a great run at Utah. Lincoln Riley's had a couple of Heisman Trophy winners. I could try. And if I was really trying to do it, I would probably go with Dabo Swinney and just lean on those 2 national championships. But the fact of the matter is that the case for Brian Kelly is pretty good at number 2. I mean, you're talking about a guy who has quite legitimately won at an elite level everywhere he's ever coached. And while he never climbed the ladder completely at Notre Dame, and you could chastise his record in quote-unquote big games, they were always good except for 1 year. And he's been at LSU for 2 years, and they've been good. And you feel like the coaches that he's surrounded himself with, the recruiting classes they're putting together, put them near the top of college football, not at the top of college football. I wouldn't try to argue Brian Kelly's the best coach. And I would suggest if Brian Kelly goes his tenure at LSU and doesn't play for a national championship, that would be a pretty big disappointment. He's got a lot more work to do in Baton Rouge, and certainly the defense needs a lot of it. But the resume is impressive. And I don't get the sense that the game has kind of passed him by. I don't get the sense that LSU's fighting an uphill battle and the glory days are behind it. I think LSU's got a chance to be really, really good over the next few years. And he's a huge piece of that. Now, I will take a little bit of umbrage with the number 3 on this list, and trust me, I'm fully self-aware that I'm the guy who went to LSU, who works on the LSU Sports Radio Network, and hosts in Baton Rouge. Like, fully self-aware, and I'm sitting here saying, yeah, I think Brian Kelly at number 2 makes a lot of sense, but I don't like number 3, Kalen DeBoer at number 3. Like, I'm aware of what that sounds like. Sounds like you're a homer. You're just hating on the new guy from Alabama. Love LSU, bleed purple and gold. I got the whole thing. Like, I'm aware. But Kalen DeBoer has been a Power 5 head coach for like 15 minutes. And look, the piece writes, while DeBoer's resume as an FBS head coach is fairly light, the man rarely loses, whether it's at Sioux Falls or Washington. He won 21 straight games with the Huskies, beat Texas twice, made the national championship in year 2, and he became the coveted target to replace Nick Saban at Alabama. DeBoer is an elite X's and O's coach, a great developer of talent, and a big game slayer. He's 12-2 against top 25 teams. He seems undaunted by the pressure of following a legend, and he's quickly assembled a great staff. The biggest unknown is DeBoer's ability to consistently recruit top 3 classes. That is a massive thing. If you're going to tell me that a head coach is a top 3 coach in America, they better be able to recruit. Kirby Smart, take Kirby Smart's word, not mine, not the guy in Baton Rouge that bleeds purple and gold. Don't take my word for it. Take Kirby's words for it. He says it's players, not plays, meaning designing the plays. You got to have the players. And if Kalen DeBoer wants to scheme it up with the first-round draft pick quarterback at Washington and beat Oregon State and Arizona State, beat Oregon, well, that's fine. You're going to need to get to the top of the mountain. You're going to need dudes. In Washington, you can get by without them. At Alabama, you will get eaten alive. Not to say you'll go 6-6, but you might go 9-3. And you know what 9-3 is in Tuscaloosa? It's eaten alive. So I'm hesitant to put Kalen DeBoer at 3. Let's just say that. If you asked me right now, if you told me I was the new AD with a clean slate at Florida or USC or Penn State, just take your geographic situation in the country and where they're. If you told me I'll give you Ryan Day or Kalen DeBoer, go. I'm taking Ryan Day. If you told me you're getting Steve Sarkisian or Kalen DeBoer, I got to think about that. Now, this may blow up right in my face. Kalen DeBoer may win the national championship next year, and he might win 4 of them. I don't know. But we're playing this game for the sake of playing the game, and I need a few more skins on the wall before I'm going to put somebody at 2. Now, self-aware, owning takes, there's not one of you that's listening, not one of you that is listening that remembers me talking about Stuart Mandel's top coaches in college football in the spring of 2020. Not one of you that remembers me saying that. But I did agree that Ed Ogeron should be in the top 3 at that point. He had done a good job as the interim head coach at USC. Didn't get that job. Did a good job as the interim at LSU. And then in his first 2 years, his second and third year after the Troy debacle year, he won an Access Bowl with the Fiesta Bowl and then had the greatest team we'd ever seen. And at that point, I looked at it and said, yeah, that's the guy. And that was obviously incorrect. So these lists are fluid year to year, and Kalen DeBoer is the toast of the town right now because of an amazing run at Washington. This is a different deal than Washington. And Ryan Day has slipped down this list not because he's 4th, but not because he's losing to Purdue. He's not losing to Penn State. It's not because he's losing to Michigan State. It's because they lost to Michigan 3 years in a row. That's the reason. I'm talking about a team a couple of years ago that had Georgia on the ropes, but they lost the game, so they didn't get the credit for it. Steve Sarkisian comes in at 5, Dabo Swinney at 6. And I'll be honest with you, if you gave me Dabo Swinney or Mike Norvell moving forward, I'm taking Mike Norvell. If you gave me Dabo Swinney or Kyle Whittingham moving forward, I'm taking Kyle Whittingham. If you gave me Dabo Swinney or Lincoln Riley, I'm probably taking Lincoln Riley. But the name at 10 on this list is the one I'd like to talk about, and that's Lane Kiffin. You're telling me right now, with a straight face, equal resources, and you're hiring a coach, it's Dabo Swinney or Lane Kiffin. Who's taking Dabo Swinney? Anybody? Beck, are you taking Dabo Swinney over Lane Kiffin?
Yes.
You are? Would you like to state your case? I'd love to hear it.
I think that even in this day and age, I do think that Dabo Swinney is still a better football coach than Lane Kiffin.
Based on
his championships.
Okay. Gotcha. I just vehemently disagree.
Well, no, I understand. I understand that Lane Kiffin fits the current age of football better, but I still think that Dabo Swinney is a really good coach, and even though he may miss on some players that perhaps Lane Kiffin will get, I still think that he's able to recruit pretty well, and he's still going to be able to put a good team together.
I think that's true, too. I think he will recruit pretty well, and I think he'll put a pretty good team together. I think their time as being the upper echelon in college football is done. And as long as I keep refreshing their transfer portal page on On3 and it says no incoming transfers, then you've got a guy who's absolutely derelict in his duty and negligent at best to determine that you're not going to play the NIL game and you're not going to play the transfer portal game. If you want to play this thing like 2013, you can do it, but you're going to get your butt kicked, and that's what I think is going to happen to him. Plus, I don't know that he can call plays. He's a wide receivers coach, and now you got Lane Kiffin, who's one of the best play callers in all of college football. There's no chance I'm putting Dabo Swinney ahead of Lane Kiffin. No shot in that at all. But the point of this conversation, I think, was to kind of lay out that there are a lot of people that think a lot of Brian Kelly. And while I don't think that anything is perfect in Baton Rouge, and they've got a lot of issues to work out on the defensive side of the ball, I think in terms of just the overall health of the program, the talent they've got in the building, the talent they've got on the coaching staff, the ties to Louisiana that they have, the recruiting classes that are lining up, and the organization with which the program is running, I think is excellent. And I think it's fair to put Brian Kelly at number 2. And hopefully LSU's one of the best teams in the country next year, adds a playoff run and maybe a national championship, and then it's a slam dunk. But we'll see. I thought it was an interesting list. You can catch it on 3. Top 10 head coaches with no Nick Saban or Jim Harbaugh. It's Kirby Smart and then who is what the headline is. The answer is Brian Kelly at number 2. Our Thursday shows brought to you by Rouse's. Download that Rouse's app. Do your weekend grocery shopping at any Rouse's location that is very, very near to you. We appreciate them for bringing you our Thursday shows. We'll come back and close it out on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. I always tell you, if you're a homeowner, get that Generac generator to prevent your home from losing power. What if you're a commercial property owner, whether you're a business owner or just own commercial properties, and you want to keep that power running? Sometimes we get those afternoon storms in the summer that can throw the power out, and then all of a sudden you've got a completely unproductive work staff. Don't let that happen. Let Boudreaux's Electric come out and do your commercial job. They'll have the generator that can power whatever size property you have, and they'll be sure to install it in a way that looks aesthetically pleasing, because just like we take pride in our homes, we take pride in the way that our businesses look as well, and Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been running this company for 40 years. You got to give them a call. 225-300-9389. 225-300-9389. Get that Generac generator installed soon, because another storm season, we know, is always right around the corner. That's our friends at Boudreaux's Electric.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
At Relief Windows, we're more than a Friday edition of Off the Bench as Jake and T-Bob are back in studio after their trip to Mobile, Alabama for the Senior Bowl. Did the Saints hire an offensive coordinator? We'll talk about that and a whole lot more. Tune in 7 to 10 a.m. here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This February, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust are here to offer you a holiday rebate to the tune of a $1,000 cash prize to help out. Signing up is as simple as heading to 1045ESPN.com. It's our annual holiday rebate gift to you from Citizens Bank and Trust and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You are listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out Rouse's. Great new location on Florida Boulevard here in Baton Rouge, the first North Baton Rouge location of Rouse's Markets. We always hang out on Fridays at Burbank and Lee. Always enjoy our time there. Wherever the Rouse's is in your area, get on by and get your grocery shopping done. Download the app. You can spend $35+ and you won't spend an extra cent on the curbside pickup when you do that on the Rouse's app. All right, back. Take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball is reporting the SEC will go to a 16-team single elimination based tournament in baseball in 2025. Top 4 seeds will get a double bye. Take it or leave it.
It's fine. I'll take it.
I'll take it.
There's no perfect way to do this. By the way, Kendall's going to be on with Matt today if you want to hear more information about this. But the way this is going to work is your top 8 teams will get a bye on the first day. You'll have teams 9 through 16 playing single elimination. The winners of those games will play teams 5 through 8 on Wednesday. So you'll have half the conference gone by the time we get to Thursday when the top 4 seeds will play. So you'll still be getting a double bye if you're a top 4 seed. The only negative to this, because I don't think that Hoover really matters that much, we've seen the last 3 national champions post a combined 1-4 record there and get run ruled a couple times. And then they've gone on and won the national championship. In terms of how you're playing, it doesn't really matter. And in terms of getting into the NCAA tournament, it usually doesn't matter all that much. It's not great for the fans because you don't know how long your team's going to be there. It's like the SEC basketball tournament. If you were to win on Tuesday in the current format, and then you would go and see the teams that get advanced to Wednesday, you know you're going to get 2 games because it's double elimination, and you know you're going to at least play on Wednesday and Thursday. Now you don't have that. If you're going to go to Hoover to watch your team play and they lose 1 game, you're out. Now that's something you gotta take into account. Used to be able to know that you were going to at least play 2, so that's the only drawback. But that's not significant to me. I'm fine with it.
According to Pro Football Talk, Alabama offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb might already be heading back to Washington just a few weeks after leaving. He's under consideration to become the next offensive coordinator of the Seahawks. Grubb entering the coaching portal after a few weeks. Take it or leave it.
Take it. As much unrest as I can have in Tuscaloosa, I want all of it. Hope the defensive coordinator leaves too to go coordinate the Washington Commanders or something. Just everybody leave. Get out. Go do something else. Just absolute upheaval, disruption, disaster, chaos. I want all of that in Tuscaloosa. So if Coach Grubb wants to move on, Godspeed.
Well, and this just goes back to the point you were making when you were talking about the transfer portal and everything, about how coaches will just leave whenever they want. I mean, this is a really good example. I mean, we've seen players enter and leave the transfer portal. I mean, this guy literally just got a job a couple weeks ago, and he's already considering leaving. So
love to see it.
Yeah.
Roll Tide.
All right, next one here. We've got an answer to what Luke Johnson was teasing earlier. Something he mentioned in his new article. The Saints are expected to restructure quarterback Derek Carr's contract to make some cap space before the start of the new league year, which would effectively tie them to the quarterback for at least the next 2 seasons. Carr for 2 more years. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. They were always going to do this. They were always going to restructure that contract, move more money down the road to clear up salary cap room. Here, I'll give more thoughts on this tomorrow. It'll be a more long-form deal in probably the first or second segment of the show. But what they're doing, everything they do in this offseason, in my opinion, is going to be to win now. Why do I say that? Because Dennis Allen doesn't have a choice. If Dennis Allen fails in this coming fall, he will never be a head coach of an NFL team again. So I don't expect them to go and accumulate a bunch of draft picks. I don't expect them to sell the farm off and try to get under the cap and accumulate a bunch of young players. I don't expect them to draft a quarterback. I expect them to do what it takes to win to save Dennis Allen's job. I realize he doesn't have the only say in that room, and that you've got Jeff Ireland, you've got Mickey Loomis, and you've got some other people who will have say in what the team's direction is moving forward. But every ounce of Dennis Allen's motivation is going to be in winning this coming season. That's probably not healthy for the Saints franchise as a whole.
No.
And you'll probably pay for that, but I don't see it any other way.
Yeah.
Because if they go 8-8, 8-9 next year, it's over. He's done.
All right, last one here with the Washington Commanders hiring Dan Quinn as their new head coach. All vacancies in the NFL have now been filled. Mike Vrabel and Bill Belichick were the odd men out. Both will be head coaches by the end of 2024. Take it or leave it.
I'll leave that because they'll probably be hired in January when they are hired. I think there's a chance that somebody, Vrabel is going to get hired. Belichick and Carroll are a little bit different cases because they're older. I mean, I don't believe that 71, 72, 73 years old precludes you from holding a job. There are lots of people in their early 70s that can do great jobs. Football coach is demanding. We just saw the greatest one we've ever seen at the college level step away at this age. He just didn't feel like he could get up and go the way that he needed to.
It's a little bit different.
It is. The NFL's different for sure. And I know that Bill Belichick's going to want to coach because he's going to want that record. He wants to pass Shula and be the all-time winningest coach. That it's not surprising to me that they've been left out. It's surprising to me that nobody hired Mike Vrabel.
That is very surprising.
He seems to be like a really respected coach who had success at Tennessee, but it's always the next big thing. And that young offensive coach tree got a lot. And then there were some defensive coaches.
Which is surprising because he's a defensive coach. And also it will be surprising to me if the Ravens just lost their defensive coordinator. I wonder if they try to get him as a defensive coordinator. Yeah. But then you have to also think if you hire Mike Vrabel as a coordinator, he's almost certainly going to be getting a head coaching job most likely next year. Yeah. So then he's basically a one-year rental. So.
Sure. And look, Vrabel, I mean, if you're hiring a coach and you're Washington, are you taking Dan Quinn or
Mike Vrabel? That's interesting.
Quinn had a great year.
He did.
He had a great run in 1 year in Atlanta, but obviously the Super Bowl didn't go great. Yeah, it's interesting. That's it for a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We opened things up talking about the ridiculousness that was the Alabama gambling baseball case that cost Brad Bohanan his job. It was humorous if you want to go back and listen to that at the top of the show. Luke Johnson was with us from the Senior Bowl talking Saints. You can catch that at Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Talk some SEC basketball. LSU's baseball schedule is out from a television perspective. Boston College's head football coach leaving to be the Packers DC. What does that mean for the future of college football? Chris Blair was with us talking Tigers as well. And top 10 head coaches in college football on 3 Sports says Brian Kelly, number 2. Catch all that wherever you get your sound on demand. You can always find us right there. Matt's going to drive you home next on AFR. I'm going to go to the box. We'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
Join MMR and ignite your career today. MMR is the largest electrical and instrumentation contractor in the nation, and they're seeking talented individuals to join their team. For over 3 decades, they've been headquartered right here in Baton Rouge, and they have offices all around the globe.
And MMR offers a tailored path for both professional and personal development, outstanding benefits, and a dynamic culture. So whether you're an intern, a seasoned pro, or you're just starting out, see what MMR can offer you. Apply at mmrgrp.com.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional